Hello and welcome back to another episode of FedBiz 5, your quick dive into all things government contracting. I'm your host, Sam Fields. Today, we're unpacking something that sounds dry on the surface, but is actually packed with signal for your business. The SBA's 2025 annual report and what it really means for small business contractors in 2026. This isn't just a government victory lap. It's a roadmap for where policy, capital, and opportunity are moving next. If you're already a government contractor, or you're trying to break in, this episode is about how to read that report like a playbook instead of a press release. Let's get into it. First big takeaway, access to capital. According to the SBA, small businesses received record levels of financing through programs like 7A and 504 in 2025. We're talking tens of billions of dollars guaranteed to more than 80,000 businesses, with big chunks going to manufacturers, agriculture and food supply, and other backbone sectors. For government contractors, that's not an abstract finance headline. Capital is what lets you hire ahead of an award, carry payroll while you wait on first invoices, buy gear, open a facility, invest in compliance, or finally make that jump from sub to prime. So what does this mean in 2026? It means more of your competitors will be better capitalized. That janitorial firm you've been beating on price might finally be able to invest in better equipment. That small IT shop might now have the bench strength to handle a larger task order. The bar is quietly rising. On the flip side, if you've been award-ready but undercapitalized, this is your window to get serious about capacity. Think of capital planning as part of capture, not something you panic about after you win. Ask yourself, if I land that bigger base operations support contract or that multi-year IT support vehicle, what breaks first? Cash flow, staffing, space, or systems? Then work backward into what you'd need from a lender or SBA-backed loan to avoid that bottleneck. One practical move is to build a one-page, lender-ready snapshot. Your key NAICS codes, your top 2 or 3 past performance examples, a rough pipeline value, and what you'd use the funds for. Lenders understand government revenue better than they used to, but they still need you to connect the dots. Second big theme in the 2025 report is integrity and oversight. SBA made it very clear they're tightening enforcement across programs. They dug deep into 8A pass-through abuse, shell company setups, and firms that don't really meet eligibility standards. They even ordered thousands of 8A firms to submit several years of financials and documentation. For legitimate contractors, this is actually good news, even if it doesn't feel fun when you're the one being asked for extra paperwork. Here's why it matters. When fraud and pass-through schemes get squeezed out, contracting officers gain confidence in the programs themselves. That makes them more willing to use set-asides and sole-source tools the way they were intended. But it also means you cannot be casual about documentation anymore. If you're a small prime, make sure your staffing plan, work share, and control actually match what you represent in SAM, SBA, and your proposals. If you lean heavily on subs, be honest about who is really doing the work. If you're a sub, be careful about lending your status to arrangements where the prime controls everything and you're just a logo. The contractors who win in this environment are the ones who can survive an audit without breaking a sweat. Clean ownership structures, consistent operating agreements, clear financials, and evidence that your people are doing the work you're being paid for. Third theme is shifting contracting priorities, especially around veterans and certifications. One notable signal from SBA is how they're handling goals around socially disadvantaged businesses versus veteran-owned firms. The report talks about adjusting certain internal goals back towards statutory baselines and doubling down on getting the Vet Cert program running smoothly. They cleared a backlog of thousands of veteran certification applications and are clearly treating that pipeline as a priority. If you're a veteran-owned or service-disabled veteran-owned small business, this is your moment to tighten things up. The message is basically, we're going to move you through the certification system, but we expect clean, defensible documentation and real performance behind it. For everyone in the set-aside ecosystem, 8A, women-owned, hub zone, service-disabled veteran-owned, the direction of travel is the same. Stronger verification, less tolerance for fuzzy eligibility, and more attention to whether the firm on paper is the firm doing the work. If you qualify for a certification and you've been putting it off, 2026 is not the year to procrastinate. And if you're already certified, keep an eye on renewals, recert requirements, and any documentation requests. You don't want to find out something lapsed in the middle of a bid you're favored to win. Next, let's talk manufacturing and onshoring. The SBA report leans hard into reindustrialization, more domestic manufacturing, more resilient supply chains, and more small manufacturers participating in federal work. They've held hundreds of industry events, launched tools to support onshoring decisions, and reported a lot of engagement from industrial firms. That's not just feel-good messaging. It's a signal to contracting officers and primes. We want small manufacturers and industrial suppliers in the mix. So if you make things, repair things, or support people who do, this is a trend you can ride. That might look like emphasizing domestic sourcing and lead times in your capability statement, highlighting your quality assurance processes, surge capacity, and logistics reliability, targeting opportunities in facility upgrades, equipment overhaul, spares, and warehousing tied to critical infrastructure or defense. And if you're more of a services firm, think engineering, cyber, training, or quality, you can position yourself as an enabler of onshoring. You're the one helping manufacturers modernize, stay compliant, secure their systems, and scale up. The thread here is simple. Made in America is not just a tagline. It's a selection factor. Show how you reduce risk and keep supply chains stable. Another quietly important theme in the report is regulatory cost relief. SBA's Office of Advocacy has been pushing agencies to streamline or update rules that impose outsized costs on small businesses. The report calls out billions in estimated cost savings tied to regulatory reforms, including specific examples in transportation and industrial sectors. What does that mean for you, practically? If you operate in industries that are heavily regulated, transportation, construction, logistics, agriculture, energy, even modest reductions in compliance burden can improve your indirect rates and free up margin. You don't pocket all of that, of course. In competitive procurements, some of that relief shows up as more aggressive pricing or better value for the government. The smart move is to know your numbers well enough that you can tell a story in proposals about how you manage cost drivers, control risk, and deliver value across the life of the contract. Price realism is not just, can you do it cheap? It's, can you do it sustainably without cutting corners? Let's shift to innovation. The SBA's 2025 report highlights growth in SBIC activity and strong commercialization outcomes from SBIR-funded firms. Billions in follow-on contracts, private investment, and sales flowing out of those early innovation dollars. If you're in tech, engineering, cyber, AI, or advanced manufacturing, this is your signal that the innovation pipeline is not just alive, it's feeding real contracts. SBIR and similar programs can be more than free money for R&D. They can be your structured path into becoming a trusted vendor. The key is to think beyond Phase 1 or Phase 2. When you pursue innovation funding, start building your transition story at the same time. How does this prototype become a deployable capability? What does it look like at scale? How do you handle security, integration, training, and support? The small firms that win follow-on work are the ones who turn technical wins into acquisition-ready solutions and can explain that in language a contracting officer understands. Another interesting signal from the SBA report is around disaster assistance. In 2025, SBA delivered billions in disaster loans, with relatively fast approval times and a strong emphasis on fraud controls. That's a reminder that disaster and resilience work is not going away. If anything, it's becoming a more regular part of the federal contracting landscape. Disaster-related work is broader than people think. It can include temporary facilities, logistics, construction trades, IT recovery, staffing, safety supplies, and continuity of operations support. If your business can mobilize quickly, document cleanly, and handle chaotic environments, there's a lane here. The move for 2026 is to treat emergency response as a distinct offering if it fits your capabilities. That means clarifying what you can realistically deliver under surge conditions, documenting past performance tied to urgent or time-sensitive work, and making sure your profiles, your NAICS codes, and your keywords reflect that readiness. You want your name to come up when agencies or primes think, we need someone who can move fast and stay compliant. Zooming out, the SBA report paints an economic picture of moderating inflation, solid growth, and rising small business optimism. That doesn't guarantee smooth sailing for every contractor, but it does suggest the demand environment is not collapsing. In simple terms, agencies will still have missions to execute, budgets to obligate, and small business goals to meet. Your job in 2026 is to be findable, fundable, and believable. Findable in the right systems and searches. Fundable in the sense that you have the capacity and capital to deliver. Believable because your documentation, past performance, and positioning match what you claim you can do. If you treat the SBA's annual report as a scouting report instead of a press release, it becomes a tool, not just a PDF you download and forget. So, what do you do with all this? You don't need 100 new initiatives. You need a focused plan that lines up with these signals. Capital readiness, clean eligibility, smart use of certifications, clear Made in America value, a realistic pricing story, and, if you're in tech or innovation, a path from prototype to production. And if you want help turning those themes into an actual 2026 game plan, that's where FedBiz Access comes in. For 25 years, FedBiz Access has helped small and mid-sized businesses compete stronger in the government marketplace. From registrations and certifications to capability statements, market targeting, and outreach that gets you in front of the right buyers. If you'd like a second set of eyes on your positioning for 2026, call 844-628-8914 and ask to speak with a FedBiz Access specialist. We'll help you map out practical next steps based on where you are today and where you want to go. Be sure to mention code GovConReady for a 10% discount on any product or service. Thanks for listening to FedBiz 5. 5 minutes, countless opportunities. Until next time, stay proactive, stay prepared, and keep winning in government contracting.